hello again, everybody, and welcome to another wonderful episode of Aquarius Rising Africa with our favorite whistleblower, Jessie Czebotar. Wow, Jess, how you doing? This has been quite a crazy 24 hours, hasn't it? How's it
It
going there?
has. Yeah, no, I'm actually doing really good. We've had a lot of reactions out there, but I have been actually very excited about what's going on. And not because Biden became president, but because of all the stuff that I think's going on behind the scenes.
I'm super excited to talk to you about that as well, because I've been listening to some stuff, and also just very much following my inner clock, my inner guidance system. So I think we don't really have too much to be worried about. But before we get there, I would just like to speak to my fellow South Africans at the moment, because a day or two ago, I got some updates on the dumb tunnels here in South
Hmm,
Africa from Gene Decodes. So
that's
I would
great.
just like to, yeah, so this is super exciting. So I would just like to read out the email. I'm going to do it again verbatim because otherwise I kind of get lost in translation with all this stuff here. So this is the message. Hi, everyone. They have arrived to clean up South Africa. Isn't that wonderful? Anyway,
Yes.
Gina has confirmed that they have secured the dam entrance near Gaborone in Botswana and are now past Soweto in Johannesburg on their way to Viljoenskroon. And if any of you watched my show with Michael Jaco the other night, we actually briefly touched on that, where I was just amazed because before, remember, I did an arrow drop a couple of months ago, and we were talking about the earthquakes in Cape Town, and which are
Mhm.
not really earthquakes, but definitely the dam tunnel's been blown up here too. Anyway, South Africa is the Alpha Draco negative prime stronghold on Earth. This is major. And I say this and I get chills going right down my spine because I have always suspected that. And for those of you who know who Credo Mutwa is, he's always said that as well. And also in one of Gene's previous recordings I was listening to, he equated South Africa alongside Antarctica, which is very dark and a very, very strong stronghold. So again, I'll repeat what we were saying is that on this continent, they've tried to keep us stupid. They've tried to implement the poverty consciousness, and they have absolutely done that for many, many decades and centuries now. And it just proves here what we're seeing, that the only reason that they've actually done that is because they've been so terrified about the power that we actually have on this continent. Remember, as much negative as what there is, the equal opposite of that would be the amount of light and power that this continent absolutely has. So now they are heading towards Maseru, Lesotho, which is a free state of the cabal run by the Draco in the middle of South Africa. Okay, well, Maseru is Botswana and Lesotho is a little neighboring country. So it's not South Africa, but they are neighbors of ours. So it is Africa. So Botswana, Namibia, Lesotho, South Africa, Kenya. I mean, we could the Congo. The last time we were also had information about the Congo. Anyway, Gene confirmed that the cabal knows this too, and he wouldn't put anything out that would compromise their mission. Nothing is a surprise to them anymore. We have started drawing out their route on the map below, and I think what I'm going to do, Morné, is I'll send you a little copy of this map. We can just put it up below.
Okay, perfect.
Green dots are earthquakes at 10 kilometer in 2021. Pink is in 2020, and purple are earthquakes in 2020 at 5 kilometers. And then they just basically say, as soon as I have any more confirmed information, we'll send it over. So that is fantastic news. I am so chuffed, so happy to hear that, again, our tunnels are being cleaned up here in Africa. where it's clear there's a lot of very, very heavy nefarious activities that go on. And yeah, it confirms why and for those of you who've watched our programs since the beginning, Jessie, remember when we were speaking about our politicians and Mandela and all of the stuff, and these people that have got all these like Mandela as well, these child, what do you call it? Orphanages, programs, whatever it is.
Organizations.
Yeah.
Schools.
Organizations. Yeah. With all these Luciferians sitting on as patrons. Now we know why. You know, it's a very strong feeling I've had for such a long time. And all of that is really just being confirmed. It's because we are such a powerful country. We have so much power on this continent. That is why they have kept us stupid. And that is why they're still trying to keep us stupid. And that is why our leaders have all been bought. So we really, you know, if we look at our leaders, let me not mention his name again today. That one that gives me such gray hairs. But so they've been bought. And as Krita Mutwa said, the draconian forces here are known as the Chantelle. So that's what they are, and they've been having stronghold on Africa for a very long time, and that's why we've had so many tunnels going through to the rest of the world. That is why African kids are so heavily trafficked, because what Michael Jaco was saying the other night as well, because I've always said the melanonin in the skin, they like the dark skin, because I do believe there's something in that adrenochrome. There's more, which may be more powerful. That's just my feeling as well. A couple of people that I've spoken to have pretty much agreed with that as well. More iron in the blood, our tribal systems, and mostly the African people's spirituality. And that's what they're after. And that's what and especially if we're looking at our sand kids that are coming from Namibia, that's the oldest DNA on the planet. That's why those kids, I mean, although the tribes are the smallest now because they're just about eliminated, but those kids, because they're in the rural areas, are heavily trafficked, because I guess they're also being sold because there's no money, and they've been kicked out of the tribal systems in South Africa by the stronger African tribes, which is a shame.
And
so yeah, I don't know.
Just to add with the Bushmen, the Sand people, they don't fight. They don't believe in fighting, so they never fight for their lands. And they don't get, in Africa, they're probably the people that get the least rights, attention. Their language is so beyond any other language. For those kids to be in an English school, any school, it takes twice as hard for any normal kid to learn our language, because they've got words for things that we can only comprehend. So they're really the tribe that are forgotten. The kids that has been forgotten, really, the original people in that sense. So I can definitely see how that must be something important for the dark forces.
Well, exactly, because this is why they would be trying to eliminate them, and trying to push them aside, and pretty much trying to make them extinct. And somehow they're just not becoming extinct. I mean, it's the Khoisan or the Bushmen. There's probably a little difference, but not much of a difference. And they, you know, the land that actually, which the African people are fighting about in South Africa now, basically what this whole land expropriation thing is about. This was never tribal land for the tribes that are fighting for it now. This has always been the land of the Khoisan people, and they have got no rights to it. So it's amazing how this is happening. But again, you know, I just think we've got to take a deep breath, because I think what's happening in America is very much a mirror of what's happening here as well, or what's happening, you know, in another way. So I don't know, Jess, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but we've also, you know, just from your side, got some super exciting things to chat about tonight, about the Biden being inaugurated and stuff like that. So yeah. I'm looking forward to having our chat. So I don't know, do you have anything to add to that, or just to say what
I don't have any information to add to that, but you know, I'm in agreement. I really think that, you know, the military is continuing things, and in operation still cleaning up, you know, means they've already gone through, they've done a lot of the rescues. They're just making sure that everything, you know, is finished and that there is no more in those areas. And, you know, it's like the double check system. Let's go through one more time, make sure we got everything. Let's make things difficult so these people can't reuse these areas. And, you know, it's not just an effort to save children. You know, the goal is to end human trafficking. So, you know, they're going to go back through those tunnels and blow entrances and exits up and make it so they're unavailable spaces for people to go back into.
Wonderful.
So I'm excited about that.
I'm very excited. It's just really amazing news. It really is. This is the news I've been waiting for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I just know it's happening, and I know the awful things that have been happening, and it's just, I think we're going to be hearing a lot of terrible stories, you know, when people start speaking. And I think we've just really got to take a breath, pray, meditate, whatever it is that people do, and just realize there's going to be some shocking discoveries that we're going to be finding out about within the next few years. And we need to be strong. Mm-hmm. We need to be centered. We need to be in our light. We need to be in a space that we can create a safe place for these people. And, you know, this is one of the reasons when we started the Overcomers series. And I remember speaking to you about this at the time, when kind of felt inspired to do that, was because I think, just to repeat what we were saying there, over the next 20 to 30 years, I do believe there are going to be so many people coming out of these systems, having their mind control broken down, needing a safe space to heal, needing a safe space to be able to speak and have their voices heard. And for people to realize that there are a lot of very amazing, fundamentally good humans too. You know, I think these people have really just been so conditioned to awful human beings, or really subhuman beings, that have been doing horrendous things. So we need to prepare that space, and we need to be strong and not run away and say, I'm too sensitive.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, you know, I think you have created that space, and, you know, I believe we're going to have a lot more people on the Overcomer series, and
it's beautiful.
like you said, people coming forward, and through that there's healing. You know, as each person gets on and shares their story, others relate to that. You know, they've had similar experiences, and they see that they can come out, they can let their voice be heard. And
you know what's
go ahead.
No, sorry, Jess, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But what I was just saying about that, it's so beautiful, because since we've been doing this, I've been receiving so many emails from people saying that, especially watching our show, and especially watching a lot of the Overcomers as well, they are getting memories. So people that had no idea that they've even been MK Ultra'd are realizing, oh my gosh, this is what's going on. So already people, just by watching and by listening to others speak, are waking up. And I've had emails again, people saying, please, I'd like to talk to you, you know. So yeah, and I welcome, you know, we welcome everyone who wants to speak up. Really, there's a space here for people to absolutely.
Yeah.
Yay. Yeah. Yes. So, Jess, okay, moving right along. What has been happening in the last 24 hours? Because it was yesterday that Biden got inaugurated.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people are freaking out, but you really don't have to be. So let's hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, it was very interesting. There was a lot of things that, you know, the first thing was that many people got very discouraged. You know, I don't know how to put it, but it was almost like this attitude of, everything is lost. We're screwed. You know, how could God let this happen? And I'm just, I mean, it, not in a bad way, but it kind of made me angry. You know, it was like, hey, people, we are in a fight, you know, pull yourself together. We were told this is going to happen. I think even you had heard some stuff from some of the other shows or people who were reporting that, you know, we all knew this was a possibility in this, but it doesn't mean the fight is over or that we're done. So I'll let you put in your 2 cents there if you wanted to, before I go.
I was definitely, I always have 2 cents worth at least. So thanks for that.
Start throwing the coins up, Chantelle.
Yeah, exactly. I'm waiting for the $2,000 worth, but anyway, for the moment, 2 cents is like good enough for me. I was watching again Michael Jaco and is it 107 or something? I don't really know how
107.
107. Okay, I don't. So about a week ago, and I'm gonna again for those of you guys who haven't seen this recording, I'm gonna ask Morné if you can post it in the link below. Post the link below so you guys can watch this. Because I think it's such an important interview to watch. It was Michael Jaco and this 107, and where he actually says to Michael, people take a breath. Biden is going to be inaugurated. That is the way it is. He speaks about digital warfare. Now, I wish I'd listened to it twice but I really just was running through it. I was hoping to get an opportunity to listen to it again, but I didn't. So that's why I just listened to it. Speaks about a digital warfare that we're in. And basically what he's saying is that when you look at the lower rungs, the lowest part on earth, the lowest rungs on earth would be hell, right? The swamps. He says, absolutely. So let these guys go back into the swamps or into their hell, and then we'll just slam the doors closed above them where they can then do their thing there. And then that is when he speaks a lot, obviously, of America. America then reclaims America back. But he reckons that's going to happen in the next 45 to 60 days. Right. So let's say within the next 2 months, we need to put up with, and I say we because I feel like we definitely, even though we're sitting in South Africa, totally. Joe, I mean, really, you know, that I feel like Joe is our president. I don't quite know who's worth Joe or Cyril right now, but anyway, I think they're at a par. So basically, then things start shifting and then things start changing. But it's also about really understanding we can't freak out. Right. We have to understand that it's not about God doing this to us as well. And God, how can you let this happen? It's us as individuals that have to claim our power within the light, within, you know, connect with God. Allow that communication and that connection to occur so that you as an individual are standing strong in the truth of knowing what is going on. These guys are literally signing their own certificates of demise right now.
Right.
So for us to freak out, and for those of us who don't want to believe what's been going on for such a long time, I suggest you wake up very, 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 very quickly, because you are going to be shocked. Yeah. That is just my opinion. And
we need to put on, like before this, we were all, you know, so many people were digging, researching, you know, evaluating for themselves. And we need to do the exact same thing here. And just by looking at things, you know, stepping back and doing those different techniques, the truth's gonna clearly be displayed. You know, kind of where I started with people is with this cyber warfare that we're in. We've had several times, you know, where our former president, Donald J. Trump, and others have said that we're in this unseen war. And some have called it a digital war, a cyber war. Well, let's think about some of the things that he did during his presidency. One, he set up a quantum computing system. Hold on one sec as I look up the date here for it. You can't get the article right now, but it was in July that the White House put out, that there was an executive order. So Trump put this in place, that he established a National Quantum Initiative Advisory Committee. A little bit after they announced that Quantum Advisory Committee, we had several things happen. He put out an executive order putting into place a quantum computer. That has gone into effect. What does that mean? It means we've got this computer system that goes beyond technical AI, satellite. It operates at a quantum level. I believe that's off of free energy. So it's not bound by the system that we already have in place, which in cyber warfare, we've been dealing with all this censorship. We've had, Twitter, Google, Facebook, censoring, monitoring, kicking people who claim to be patriots or people who are putting information out there about survivors or the truth. They would be pulling our information offline, monitoring, what we've got out there. I had techniques literally where, I just had to laugh sometimes because these people, it was like I'd try to go on Facebook Messenger and they literally would take away my buttons. So like I could type all I wanted, but I couldn't press send. There was no send button or share button. I had Twitter. Originally, I was doing a series with Kathy Fox, and you can find her on Twitter at Kathy with a C, Kathy Fox. I had her putting out my Twitter series called Silence Breaks Forth in the Song. And in that, I was really delving into the Masonic side of this Luciferian occult. And, it was like we got through to the 7th blog, and then, what Twitter did was they basically made it so I could not do any threads, which when you put out a tweet, you get a very small space to say something. So if you can't do a thread, it makes it really hard to put stuff out there. So first they took away my thread ability, and I was like, oh, well, I'll just go the long way and do it, one tweet at a time. Well, then they started taking away my ability to post any pictures or images or videos with my tweets. So therefore I couldn't put the evidence for people to see with it. Then they took away for a while, I couldn't, literally I'd get these messages when I tried to send it, it would either completely just disappear into La La Land, or they would, put up this disclaimer that would be like, that is proven disinformation, so our platform will not display it. So they would do stuff like that. That's all part of the cyber warfare. Well, so to combat some of this stuff, we had very early on in his presidency, President Trump put up that we have a new branch to our military, and that's Space Force. And these individuals, their job is not just to be looking at things that are out in the galaxy and, trying to work with NASA to, get us onto Mars or other planets. These people specialize in the cyber security world. So, they are dealing with the satellites, the media, information warfare. That's part of their specialty. So these executive orders that Trump put into place with the quantum computing, well, who's running the quantum computer? Space Forces. So, you know, we also had Pence, on December 22nd, he told us that these individuals, were the guardians, that they were very involved with the stuff that was going on with the children who were being trafficked. And, as we think about this, we had put out our team, Illuminate the Darkness, had put out a video, an insider's report on the Netherlands, and, how, 70% of that, I think it was like 71% of that country was like, it was dealing with the child pornography. And, so that's, pornography is all done at a cyber level. So I think that, as we look, as we research, as we dig, the answers are all there, that, that things are not hopeless. We haven't seen Biden yet be able to attack that group or that branch of the military. I think that things are still very much in operation with that group, and that they're the ones who are going to start bringing forward this stuff about the Luciferians, about the depth of, the stuff that was on the laptops, the incriminating evidence. I've shared in the past how all these Luciferians are required to participate in quotas. And those quotas, are sins that they have to engage in on a regular basis. They grow in intensity, so you might start off, where there's a picture of you in a nefarious situation with a child. You may have been drugged and didn't really do anything with that child, but the picture is so incriminating, you're kind of stuck, and they use that to blackmail you. And as you progress in the system, it gets where then you have to be perpetrating the acts. Those acts have to all be recorded. They have to be witnessed. And, the system keeps all that as blackmail. All of that blackmail is going to be, recorded, kept, stored on, computer systems or laptops in the global cloud, I guess we'll call it. It's all kept, it's all recorded. So, that information has to be released. It has to be brought forward. And I think we're going to see that happen here very shortly. Was it our former president who controlled all that? Absolutely not. Who controls that? That's what people need to, research, dig, find out who's controlling all the information, who's controlling the quantum computing system, who's in control right now. I will guarantee you the Luciferians do not have control of that system.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I do believe that as well. And I think that what we need to remember as well, this is like a click by click process, so it's clicking from one stage to the next is I think the best way I can put it. So it's really about keeping the faith, I think. And I mean, I think in what we were saying as well, really, if we look at Donald Trump, I mean, love the guy or hate the guy, it doesn't really matter. Okay, you might not agree with his personal hairstyle or whatever, that doesn't matter. My point is, when you look at his character, do you really think knowing, I mean, because what Jaco and Juan was saying was that, in fact, it was 80% of Americans that voted for Trump. So he pretty much won the election by an entire landslide. I mean, that is like a huge election victory. And obviously, you know, the man is put, to me, I see this again. It's like a chess game, you know, and a chess game only has limited moves. And right now the game is not over yet.
Right.
You know, so it's really, it's about understanding how these things need to be put into place and how they need to be worked in order to process how everything is going. And when we can look at Donald Trump, I mean, he's not a quitter. He's not the kind of guy that's going to walk away from a landslide victory of 80% of the American vote and just concede, get in his aeroplane and fly away with his wife. No can do. Firstly, I mean, can you imagine when you're looking at the likes of Biden and Clinton's and all of those people there right now? I mean, these are high-level Satanists. Okay, we know that they are high-level witches and warlocks and whatever. They would take him, and I think we were saying that early on, have him for breakfast. You know, he's not going to allow that. I mean, there's no ways that's going to happen.
I mean, it would be many breakfasts because, you know, the fate of a defector is that, you know, they come, they hunt you down, they take you, and then they're going to put you someplace where they can torture you as long as they can until you die eventually. And, you know, I was kind of teasing, it's like, you know, that's the reality for all of us whistleblowers. You know, I'm right along with them, with Trump and the people, you know, who have been rescuing these kids. It's like, you know, we're going to be the first people that the system comes after, and, you know, we're going to be stuck somewhere getting tortured together, you know, and that's the reality of the situation. But that's where people have to think. It's like, you know, think through the stories that I've told, that I've shared about this system. And even just looking at that inauguration, I mean, Satan would be so ashamed. I'm just going to put this in a different perspective. But I mean, so ashamed, okay? I mean, think of how many pictures, you know, I asked people to, you know, look at the book that Joe used to, you know, usually a president puts their hand on a Bible and is sworn in, okay? Well, I said, you know, look at that book and let's start looking at pictures of that book. And I got so many images, okay? But the book was, I mean, you know, it looked like it was like the same time frame, okay? But the book had it had like these leather straps with crosses on them. One image had the crosses completely upside down, right? Which we all know an upside down cross is a satanic cross. So I'm sitting there looking at that like, well, either that was very purposely manipulated that way, or they're holding the book upside down, which that's going to be a ritual no. They've just made a mistake. You know, ding, somebody's going to get beaten up by demons tonight, right? and over and over, all these pictures of this book, I mean, like, they could not hold it properly, okay? Now, if this was like a Masonic ritual, my goodness, okay? I mean, I was trained, they started ritual prep when I was 4.5 for end time last day rituals, okay? So it's like everything has to be precise. Don't think that, you know, if their plan has been to have HRC or Biden as president all along to bring in this new world order, these people were preparing for that inauguration ritual for a long time. Okay. They wouldn't just be like, oh, okay, well, Hillary didn't win. So now we're going to put Biden in and just go for it. Just stand up there on the stage. No, there was a ritual in place. You know, people picked out, there were odd colors. You know, why were so many of the women, you know, in this ritual wearing purple? That's not a color that normally is worn to an inauguration. And, you know, what did they all call each other and be like, hey, I'm wearing purple. Why don't you wear purple too? You know,
The purple day.
right. I mean, no, they were planning it. It was strategic. You know, there was a reason they were wearing the purple. There was a reason that, you know, they were going through this entire process. But, you know, I mean, it was so horrific. If you had, you know, I mean, as a kid, I lived through rituals with these people. Okay. The first thing is that if you make a mistake, every single person who's in your group who knows you made the mistake, they don't want to take the consequences with you. Okay. So they're going to shun, they're going to point out your mistake, they're going to start giving you the dirty looks, right? And they're going to make it known that they were not part of that mistake. Okay. But we didn't see any of that. It was like they were just blindly going along. Okay. And these are prideful people. So where was the mocking? Where was the
Exactly.
gleeful victory? Like, you know, I mean, these people are so prideful and deceptive that they would have been gleefully like, you know, we beat Trump, we won, you know, we're the victories or the victors. There was none of that. Like what I was seeing was broken defeat on these people's faces. And you know what I feel happened there, you know, there were some other things that had been pointed out. Jeff with Right on Radio, you know, was looking at the fence that was built. You know, everybody was asking, why are they putting a fence around, you know, that area? And the military was inside the fence, which was interesting. The bolts that held the fence together were all on the outside. Well, why would you have the bolts on the outside? You know, how is that going to keep people out? You know, if you're trying to protect those who are in the inauguration, how are the bolts on the outside of the fence going to keep people out? It won't.
Yeah.
People just have to remove the bolts and they're in. Okay.
Exactly. Wow.
So you really have to ask, why was there a fence? What I believe is that these people have been at Gitmo or imprisoned, and they were allowed to have an outdoor recess, you know? And it was in jail, you know?
Makes sense.
I mean,
makes sense.
there was so many military there. Well, why? Because we know, you know, what were they really trying to protect? They were trying to protect other Luciferians from doing a jailbreak, right? I mean, that's really what I think was going on, and that these people put on a show. And as we know, that show was not perfect. Why? Because all their power has been stripped from them. We did not see them operating in their power. These are high level witches, warlocks. Okay. I mean, they call on Molech, Baal, Ashtaroth. Did we see any of that power?
No.
Absolutely. No, they were all neutral, eh?
There's
Very
more.
neutral.
There's more power at the Super Bowl. I've seen more power at the Super Bowl. You know,
Right?
more energy happening at the Super Bowl. I have to say.
I mean, we had Lady Gaga there, but I mean,
Yes.
she was decently dressed. I mean, she had a bird on her shoulder, but I mean, for her, she was decently dressed. There was no nefarious sex magic going on. I mean,
yeah,
it was crazy. It was like, if this is an attempt at a ritual, gosh, I mean, if people only knew what Satan does to those who make mistakes, I mean, I was just...
Well,
but
everybody
we know
wanted to...
now. Carry on,
Yeah, everybody wanted a peaceful transition day, so we had a peaceful transition day. We have, I think, especially for the sheeple, the sheeps, you know, just give them one peaceful transition day, and then we can wake up. Then the waking up will happen later. But yeah, peaceful transition day. Trump promised that. Maybe that was part of the plan. To just have one peaceful transition day.
Maybe. I mean, I'm waiting to see how Satan's going to react to this. I mean,
But,
you know.
but Jess, we know by now Moloch is hanging up against the wall like a photograph frame.
He's still there. He's still stuck on that wall. And, you know,
Yeah.
at this point, I think he's like, I'm staying on this wall. I'm not associating with those
Going nowhere.
If I was those demon generals, it'd be like, no, I'm going to go searching for new hosts because you're not going to get me into the kingdom of God. You know?
Yeah. Don't want to be doing that right now. Oh my goodness. I'm glad you sorry. I'm glad you actually mentioned that because I wanted to find out about obviously with it was J-Lo, right? J-Lo and Lady Gaga, people like that. Yeah, who are high in the sex magic type scenarios. So I was wondering, from your perspective, was there any of that going on? But you mentioned that there really wasn't much going on now, because you would obviously know from where you're sitting what kind of ritualism, what kind of.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I saw an attempted, you know, ritual inauguration, but was it successful? Absolutely not. I mean, it was like watching a bad untrained circus, you know, practicing for the first time, and I was like, what in the world is this, you know?
B-grade movie.
I was like, I mean, yeah, I was just like, my, oh my.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I think that's great news, and you know, really, I think more than anything, people must just, as you were saying in the beginning, take a breath, calm yourselves down, keep the faith. You know, it's all happening. This is it's a step-by-step process, and at the perfect time, when everything is set to be the way that it is, you know, the doors will be slammed shut, literally, and then that's when we reclaim our sovereignty. Sovereignty.
Our sovereignty.
Someone's having fun with my tag right now. Okay, but you get the picture, right? Our sovereignty. Yeah. So I think, you know, and I think we all know it's happening. So we must just calm ourselves down.
Yeah, and trusting God's timing, divine timing. I think it's also important. Timing is everything, and allow the time to come when it needs to come, and just stay aligned with your time.
Right.
I think there's so much light on this earth now, and I think the darkness is like trying to hold on to as little bit as it can, knowing it is not enough anymore. So the less we get into the fear, the less we get into that doubt, the quicker the darkness is going to be transferred or transformed into something else then. So definitely
eliminated.
Eliminated.
You brought out before our show that, you know, God has literally commanded us to not be afraid. And that comes out of Joshua 1:9, where, you know, literally it says, have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous, do not tremble nor be afraid, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. And, you know, how many survivors are living proof of that? You know, God was with us even through the worst of the worst. You know, we were able to live through that, to overcome that. And, you know, the Lord's going to do the same. He's going to be with us no matter what happens, good or bad. You know, we're not alone.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I really think that is so true. And I think, you know, the word that's come through to me a lot today and yesterday is the word is playfulness. You know, we have to remain playful at this time, because if we think about a child who has really not a worry about whatever's going on, you know, they will play, they will laugh, they will have fun with each other, they will enjoy the beautiful nature out there. They will enjoy having fun with each other and just to be playful. We've got to keep our spirits and our energies in that way where we maintain that beautiful lightness, you know, instead of sitting there being grumpy at home and morbing about and really just getting sucked into that darkness, which is really what they want us to do. Because, you know, I mean, the war has not been against Trump. The war has been against us.
Right.
They want us. They don't want Trump. Trump stands in the way of us and them, actually. And his administration, I'm not saying he's doing it singularly. There are amazing people, such as yourself as well, Jessie, and a lot of other people who are standing in the way of the cabal, literally waging their war on us because we're the ones they want. We are the feeders they after. We are the ones that they want to experiment on and do crazy things with and have control over. So the more we enjoy life, the more playful we are, the more fun we have, the less they can touch us. It's that lighter vibration again, and that heaviness that they are trying to drag us down to, they literally can't get a grip on when we are being in our light and when we are walking in the light of God. So I think it's really important for us to remember that. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, besides playful, we're powerful, you know?
Yes.
We're powerful in the Lord. We're powerful when we stand together.
Yes.
And every single day we have everything that we need to overcome this evil and this darkness. And we need to trust that, you know, I mean, think about how many of those survivors as children fought or took on these individuals. And, you know, they weren't able just to snuff out every child that fought against them. The Lord literally allowed children to overcome the enemy and get out. You know, they were able to get their freedom. And if a child can do it, well, certainly, you know, we together as adults, we can do it too.
Absolutely. I love that story. Just when you're talking about that, it reminds me of that story when you were in the tunnels and you were thrown down the catacombs, I think.
Yeah.
And literally where Jesus picked you up and carried you and placed you right back under their noses.
Exactly. And, you know, I mean, part of that story even continues. December 6th, that priest, who was the high priest at that time, just passed away, you know?
Wow.
So the Lord is in control. You know, these people are not. He's going to hold everybody accountable. But the Lord did, you know, he brought me through. How many children, you know, that's been one of the stories that has gone around that, you know, as these rescues have happened, or even some of the other survivors who are starting to come forward, will talk about, you know, when they were stuck in the darkness or in those tunnel systems, they would see this man on fire, you know, and that was the Lord, and that he would walk through, he would sing to them, he would comfort them, he would minister to them. You know, so those stories are going around that the Lord, you know, is somebody who walks through the darkness with us.
And really does take care of the kids. And I think that is such a beautiful thing. And I think that's one of the reasons why the Kabbalah is so after little kids as well, because, you know, Jesus and little children are synonymous, you know, and so they really do try and hit us where it hurts the most, and that is through our children.
Yeah.
Wow. And I think that's a lovely story. And I want to just, for those who maybe haven't heard that part of your story, just give a little synopsis. And Jessie, you can obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but Jessie was thrown into the catacombs by one of the priests, high priests, because she wouldn't take part in a ritual where they killed a baby. And she was wandering around not really knowing where to go and what have you. And the next thing, this man on fire appears and carried her through the tunnels and literally put her back. Was it a trap door that he opened,
It
or
was like
some
a
secret?
secret, yeah, it was like a secret door. And he had paused right before he opened that door and had said to me, you know, ask of me what you will. And I said, Lord, I want them all to come out. Like I knew it was the Lord. And then he opened that door and I literally ended up right back out in the sanctuary where the ritual had been happening. And I came in kind of, you know, everybody, they were all arguing because the ritual had been ruined. So here again, we're going back to these rituals, how perfect they need to be. You know, these people were literally at each other's throats because their ritual had been ruined and they knew somebody was going to pay the consequence for it. And then when they finally realized that I was there, you know, that high priest, he was like, how did you get here? And I was like, the Lord let me out the door. And, you know, he slapped me across the face and was like, you little liar, how did you get there? And then I had my proctor was doing the same thing. And, you know, I just kept telling the truth. It's like, the Lord let me out the door, you know, and they'd be like, there is no door, you know, stop lying. There's no door there. And it was like, well, no, there was a door there. Well, what's interesting about that is 34 years later, you know, they had faked even the death of my training partner. And for 34 years, I believed he was dead. And one of the proofs that the Lord gave me, like I did not know this, the Lord gave me this proof that when I reached out to, you know, found out he was alive and reached out to him, the Lord said to me, he saw me let you out that door. That day, he saw you come out that door. And so that was one of the proofs that I gave him of who I was, that, you know, that I had been thrown in the catacombs and the Lord let me out the door. And then I said, the Lord said, you saw him let me out that door. You saw the Lord let me out that door.
Wow.
And, you know, so it's powerful. The Lord reveals himself. And what happened after that, you know, it was not even a week later, you know, we were walking through a hallway in between training and, you know, onto the next training class. And because he had seen the Lord, he knew that God was real. And he knew that I was trying to get out, trying to get everybody else out. And, you know, he grabbed me by the wrist and pushed me up against the wall. And that is something, you know, protector doesn't do that, especially with someone in my position. It's like putting your life on the line. You know, if anybody found out that you were harsh towards the person you're supposed to be protecting, like that could be automatic death sentence for him. But he pushed me against that wall and pinned me and said, promise me if you get out, you'll get me out too. So he knew, because he'd seen the Lord, he knew that there was something there and he wanted in on that promise. He wanted freedom and he wanted to get out, you know. But this is all, you know, I mean, the Lord is just amazing in how he works. And God's, you know, when we look at this, it's not a matter of, you know, between Trump and Biden and good and evil. You know, we have to remember that all of this is God's work, that God has seen that evil go on for generations, all the way back to the time of Abraham. You know, it stems all the way back to the Canaanites, to the land of Ur. And the Lord called Abraham out of that country and made him a promise. He said, I will give you your own land, a land flowing with milk and honey. I will make your children as many as the sand on the sea. And, you know, Abraham was like almost 100 years old, you know, when God made him that promise. He was beyond the time of having children. And yet the Lord made that promise to him because he wanted something different. He wanted a people who were set apart, a people who would honor family, who would honor relationships, you know, who wouldn't be sacrificing all their children to the demons or to Satan. You know, and that's why he called Abraham out. And we're still part of, you know, we are the living generations of that promise that God made all those centuries ago to Abraham. You know, we are the children of Sarah and Rebecca. And do we think after all these years that God's not going to be faithful to that promise that he made to Abraham? You know, Sarah was in her late 80s when she gave birth to Isaac, who became the father of the tribes of Israel.
Wow.
You know, I mean, that's an impossible feat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coming out of this darkness, you know, what the Lord did in my life was an impossible feat. You know, especially with all the high level information, you don't come out, and God forbid you try to speak or tell the truth. You know, my life alone testifies that God is in control.
Absolutely. I could not agree with you more. And I think this is really a true testimony to keeping the faith, because if there's one thing that you have, that's faith. I've seen that through and through and through and through. And that's what I've observed is to be your unwavering, one of your unwavering strengths. You have many. And it's that faith. And I think at this time for us as well, everyone who's, again, wavering, just let this beautiful story that Jessie has just recounted for us again, let that be the mirror to your own faith. You know, in the times when you are lost and alone and completely abandoned in the worst possible situation. I mean, what worse could there be for a child, what you experienced as a kid? I'm sorry, there, in my opinion, can be no worse. You know,
Right.
You were threatened by death every single day. You stood up for yourself. You refused to buckle down to certain systems.
Mm-hmm.
Your proctor made it almost impossible for you to live, and not just your proctor, but Gloria and co as well. You had it really, really, really tough. And here you are, you know, all these years later, and you are telling your story loud and proud, and you're getting it out there. And I just think it's the most beautiful thing. So why would we not be in faith?
Mm-hmm.
You know, why would we think that you know, the only reason that it's been so strong for you is because you've held it so strongly. You know, it's not like you have faith and none of us do. We all have the ability to tap into that faith.
Right.
We really just need to tap into it, you know, and all of us can tell our own stories. So I think, you know, we are in this together. We are moving in the light of God. And the more we fear and the more we fight with each other and the more angry we get at this point, we're really just defeating the object here. So let's just stay with faith and stay in the light. And I think, as I said, I think that is such a beautiful story for you to tell, you know. And again, I mean, with the other little kids that have been rescued out of the tunnels as well, you know, with the man of fire. I mean, many of them have spoken about the man of fire who was speaking to them and saving them and healing them, and just, wow, how beautiful, how beautiful. So I think that's amazing. Let's see how we're doing for time. Ooh, wow, that's flown by. I was still hoping for some questions and answers, but you know what? I'm going to steal one question here from you. Because, what can I say? Because I was hoping that we would still have a bit of a continuation of some questions and answers from last week. We started some, but wanted to carry on this week, but I felt But they're chatting about what's been going on in the elections in America at the moment, I think has been super important as well. But there's one thing that really, we were speaking a lot about the royals last week, Charles and Diana, and their, Diana's role in the system and that sort of thing. And one person that never comes up anymore is Fergie, who was married to Andrew. Now, I would be super interested to know about Fergie, because obviously she's done some dodgy things since she's divorced him and what have you. She must have also been chosen on some level. She must also have been part, or, she must have been, part of some bloodlines that she got the nod to marry Prince Andrew, even though he did obviously prefer Kustak, the porno actress. The writing was on the wall already, right? But what can you tell us about her? Do you know anything about her? And maybe just give us some intel on that. And the princesses, what was it, Eugenie and Beatrice or something? Beatrice.
Yeah, not a whole lot on that. Do I believe she was bloodline? Yes. I think you've got those high level marriages and they're, trying to blend together certain genetics to get certain spiritual gifts for the children and things like that. So I totally believe that was a bloodline marriage. I think that, we're going to be finding out that some of the things with, Andrew were part of those marriage relational issues that they had that Fergie was fighting against. In some ways, it seemed like, not so much a battered woman, but it seemed like she literally was making up her own mind to go her own way. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I think that some of that situation dealt with things that she may have known or seen or witnessed with Andrew and some of the occultic things going on, or the, child, his relationships with children and some of the other people in the system. But
yeah.
Well,
if any of our viewers have any information on that, I'd be very interested to maybe find out a little bit more. If anyone knows anything about Fergie, I mean, I know that she's obviously, again, it makes me think about this. I mean, she must have been mind controlled to a point as well, definitely. And again, like Diana, who in her 30s, early 30s, started fighting against the system. I mean, Fergie went her own way as well and became quite rebellious, and obviously was no favorite of the Queen, from what I remember. Right. So it makes me wonder if there was also some mind control programming that was breaking down there, that she really became as rebellious as what she did.
Yeah.
And also started doing things that were not really in line with the royal family. Oh my gosh, let's not even go there.
They weren't part of the, approved program posture.
Yes, okay, you said so well. Obviously, me, I'm just like grappling for the words here. But anyway, the approved program posture. Yes, I love it. Gosh, can you imagine me in that system? I would have wreaked havoc.
We die there. They would say left and I will be right.
My own rebelliousness, I had a training partner that, would never fail to help in that unapproved program stuff, so it's like we could be walking around my proctor and they all would call me clumsy, but the truth was really, we'd be walking behind her and then he'd do something to either shove, push, or trip me. And, but I was, so.
Yeah, but you're the clumsy one, right?
Right.
I must say, we've got to start exchanging some stories about him again, because I just think that, I mean, I always said, especially at the beginning of our recordings, I feel so grateful to him for taking such good care of you. And I know that somewhere along the line he's still in the system, and hopefully we'll be coming out one of these fine days. Who knows? Anything is possible, you know.
Yeah.
You did make a promise to him. He did express that desire, and even though he's probably around your age now, I would imagine, you know, that's he's still living this life. So let's see.
That's right. We'll see.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, guys and girls. Wow, time really flies when you're having fun, doesn't it? So thank you again, Jessie, for another amazing chat. It's been so fun. Always have a great time with you. And look forward to what the next couple of weeks and months hold, definitely. So yeah, keep it together, guys.
All right. We'll talk to you again.
Indeed. Bye. Thanks, Jess. I send you
Jessie.
lots of love.
Bye,
Okay,
Jess.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you so much for watching another episode of Aquarius Rising Africa. As usual, it's been an absolute blast. Send you guys lots of love. God bless you all. Mwah. Take good care of yourselves. And if you haven't already, give us a like, a subscribe, and a share, please. Catch us on Facebook, Twitter, and BitChute, right? We're on BitChute now.
Yes.
All the links are below. So yeah, we're expanding just to see where we're going to be going. Hopefully, I don't know. Who knows what's going to be happening now with YouTube and what have you. I think they found us. We're still babies, so they're not really doing anything with our shows. But that's okay. Keeps us up. It wakes people up. So we're all good with that. So happy for that anyway. Happy we're still on here. Okay, guys. Mwah. Take it easy. Catch you later. Have a beautiful day.
Bye. Bye.